yake kuamuka. Jaribu kuamuka. Hey, mbona siamuki?
All the deaths, they confessed to have taken some substance, some type of alcohol.
A chief and 7 others die in Nandi from adulterated alcohol.
And the death toll passes 90 in Ugandan tribal clashes.
Mtu yoyote ambaye atatusaidia vijana hawa wapatikane, mimi kama governor nitamzawadia shilingi 500,000.
$500,000 bounty on terrorists' head. Will it help fight insecurity in Mombasa?
Tuko na wasasi wawili ambao wamejitoa ili tuweze kuungana ili watoto wao waweze kufuka.
And risking death in search of education. Welcome to Wasingishu's Kshs village.
This is KTN Prime with Nancy Kachungira and Wilson Buru.
A very good evening to you. It is the 10th day of July, the year 2014. Welcome to KTN Prime.
So glad you could join us this evening. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla. Now, sadly, we begin with a story of more deaths from illicit brew. A chief, a teacher, and a lab technician are among the 8 people confirmed dead after they consumed adulterated alcohol in Kapsabet town, Nandi County.
This number, police say, could go up as patients with telling symptoms continue to stream into the Kapsabet hospital.
Now, initial investigations by the county public health officer in the area suggest that the deadly drinks could have been imported from Uganda.
Here's Edith Kimani with the details.
The unusually high traffic at Kapsabet Hospital was a first sign for the residents here that something was terribly wrong. Inside the gates, confusion, urgency, and heartbreak.
Is suspected to be some type of alcohol which was consumed within the environs of Kapsabet.
In the hospital, 3 patients with worrying symptoms received round-the-clock attention. The swelling crowds making it difficult for hospital staff to do their job. In the wards, we find Benjamin Kikor. He's still trying to piece together the last 24 hours, but he remembers one thing.
Kshs yake kuamuka. Jaribu kuamuka. Hey, mbona siamuki? Nikasema hapana, lazima nilazimishe mwili kuamuka.
All the deaths, they confessed to have taken some substance, some type of alcohol, which we yet to establish which type it is.
The public health team would later report that coffee spirit, premium gin, and Meekins were responsible for the deaths. 3 more drinks added to a growing list of illicit drinks which have killed at least 124 people since April. But the National Authority for the Campaign Against Alcohol and Drug Abuse says that without powers to arrest and prosecute, they have become a toothless dog.
The KRA and the police owe it to Kenyans to produce that methanol. And Nakada, I can say with all sincerity, we have done our bit.
Mutudo's assurance may, however, mean little to the families of the 8 people who died and the concerned relatives waiting to hear if their loved ones will make it out alive. Edith Kimani, KTN.
That story brings us to our big question tonight. We're asking, do you think the government is really in control over the standards of alcohol sold in Kenya? Do you think the government is really in control over the standards of alcohol brewed or sold in Kenya?
Yes, Nakada, they're admitting that they don't quite have the resources or even the mandate to completely handle the situation. But do you think the government as a whole is controlling that situation, seeing as this is not the first time we're seeing this? Give us your thoughts, and you can do that by tweeting us at KTN Kenya, at Kachungira, and at Wilson_Mburu. You can also send a message to 22155. When you do so, please begin with a yes or a no so we can add add that to our poll results at the end of the bulletin, and also add a comment and also let us know where you're texting from.
Let's move on. The death toll in Uganda's attacks in Rwenzori has crossed the 90 mark. Ugandan President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni says the sectarian and chauvinistic cultural leaders are behind the weekend attacks by people armed mainly with machetes and spears who killed security personnel and civilians in the western part of that country. The attacks that span across several districts in western Uganda have seen hundreds flee their homes in fear of more attacks. Linda Ogutu has that report.
It is a desperate attempt to stay alive. The women and children here hoping to save themselves from attackers who are said to be mainly armed with machetes and spears. They've killed security personnel and civilians in the western part of Uganda. Over 90 people are dead, among them attackers and security officers. It is an attack that has shocked Ugandans, with President Yoweri Museveni blaming what he called sectarian and chauvinistic cultural leaders for the attack. He says the killing are the result of schemes of some confused or selfish bunch of people. According to security officials, a group of people in the Rwenzori region carried out coordinated attacks against security forces and civilians. Altogether, they carried out 13 daylight attacks in 3 districts.
Whatever the reasons they may advance, they could not justify the kind of tragic events that they caused to the people of this region.
We need to understand this as a new ideology, a new phenomenon that is emerging in the Rwenzori. We need to understand this as a new fundamentalist group. Because come to think about it, what energy would you have to walk with a knife to attack a military installation?
Several people in Rwenzori have now fled their homes in fear of more attacks, whose motive remains unknown. Many have taken refuge in camps, hoping that the security personnel will arrest attackers and end the killings. Hundreds have been arrested, including cultural leaders of rival ethnic groups in Rwenzori Mountains region and in the oil-rich Lake Albert region bordering the Democratic Republic of Congo. Linda Ogutu, KTN Prime.
Sad state of affairs in western Uganda. Well, back here in Kenya, the Public Procurement Oversight Authority has told Parliament that the procurement process for the Safaricom CCTV Security tender was above board. A deputy director at the PPOA said that the Ministry of Interior gave convincing and justifiable reasons for the direct procurement of the security surveillance equipment. KTN's Patrick Amimo has more on that story.
When the Interior Principal Secretary Mutea Iringo showed up for the National Assembly's Committee on National Security, he was not alone.
No interest.
The Public Procurement Oversight Authority had tagged along to explain why the Safaricom CCTV tender had received the green light.
Decided to install state-of-the-art high-tech security.
The PPOA says the tender was directly approved by the Special Security Tender Committee.
On the copies of procurement records, which were availed to us, Mr. Chairman, we opine that the procuring entity observed due process in selection of the company.
I do not accept the explanation given by the PPOA. Actually, this is shocking. You're supposed to be an oversight body. PPOA is not supposed to defend breaches of procurement procedures by government.
I'm yet to be convinced that it was so urgent and not foreseeable.
The fact that the matter is urgent. We do not need to wait for another incident to know how urgent this matter is.
Since the then Commissioner of Police made the request in June 2010, and you had even advertised expression of interest in February 2012. So suddenly you decide it is so urgent that there cannot be competition.
I've listened very carefully to Wangari from PPOA. The ministry has done what I can describe as due diligence.
Really interrogating the issue. We're all for Kenya.
Yes.
But somebody should not come as if other things have taken place yesterday morning or today morning.
Okay. What the member is attempting to do is to discuss our verdict. Our verdict before the witnesses.
The members will.
The head of procurement for Interior Ministry, Peter Mwangi, defended Safaricom for subcontracting a Chinese telecom firm, Huawei, to provide infrastructure support. Huawei was disqualified in a similar security tender, which was awarded to its main rival, ZTE Kenya Limited, before the deal was later cancelled.
What we are looking for in this tender is LTE. In the previous, we are looking for 3G. So in the previous tender, they did not qualify because they had offered a 2G version, but now they are offering an LTE.
Due process was circumvented to favor a farm that has got more capacity and is now reaching out to a farm that lost out and would have had a good chance if it had been done competitive.
In terms of capacity, because of the masts that they have throughout the country, that's why, actually, one of the reasons why they actually chose Safaricom.
Do we have any independent figure which we can use to check whether what Safaricom has quoted under direct procurement is still a fair value to the taxpayer?
There was no independent survey, but actually we only gauged from the previous tender.
Safaricom's security tender is riddled with controversy. The government is set to sign a written agreement to award the tender to Safaricom until Parliament is done with the matter. Patrick Amimo, KTN, Nairobi.
Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho has offered a 500,000 shillings reward to anyone with information on the 3 suspected gunmen who are said to be terrorizing innocent Kenyans within Mombasa County.
Joho was speaking in Kisauni and Mvita during meetings with over 300 village elders to deliberate on matters of security.
Mombasa County has witnessed several incidents of deadly attacks on members of the public and tourists, including a mysterious shooting of a tourist near Fort Jesus just last week.
Na tukiona ati polisi ama chairman wa usalama wa county kazi yake ni kutoa onyo kila siku kusema we want to warn you, tuamkanya yule, your days are numbered, your days are numbered, wanaongea mdomo, watu wanazidi kufa kila siku. So sisi tumesema tumechoshwa na hayo. Tunataka tuone hatua kwamba wale wanaofanya huo uhalifu wamekamatwa ama wamepambana na polisi. Na sisi, mimi nasema kama governor wa Mombasa, mtu yoyote ambaye atatusaidia kutafuta, nasikia ni vijana watatu ambao wanapiga watu risasi Mombasa na wanatembea na pikipiki. Mtu yoyote ambaye atatusaidia vijana hawa wapatikane, aidha washikwe na polisi ama wapambane na polisi risasi kwa risasi, ni wao kwa wao, sivyo, mimi kama governor nitamzawadia shilingi 500,000.
Now, when people lose their relatives, they ensure that they are given a decent burial so that they can rest in peace. But for one woman from Kabolecho village, Transmara East sub-county, this has not been the case. Caroline Chepkoech lost her daughter 6 years ago, but today the body still lies at the Kapkatet mortuary. Here's Will Kistanyabo with the details.
The tasks Caroline Koech does keep her hands busy as her mind wanders to an issue that gives her sleepless nights, the fate of her daughter's body. It has lain at the Kapkatet mortuary for 6 years while she and her former husband wage a battle over the burial site. Caroline and Gisea had 3 children in quick succession. The second born was diagnosed with a condition called hydrocephalus, a symptom of which is a big head in children. This, Caroline claims, was the beginning of their troubles. She conceived again and gave birth to another child with a medical condition. This child passed away in August 2008. The then Kericho resident magistrate ordered her husband to allow her to bury the child on his parcel of land. But just 7 days after the burial, the same magistrate ordered that the child's remains be exhumed after Caroline's ex-husband went to court.
Kwa vile bwanangu ako na kazi, alienda kotini akapewa oda ingine mtoto aache afufuliwe. Kutoka wakati huo mpaka wale mtoto ajazikwa kwa miaka 6.
And as the two continue to wage a war of words, the body of their daughter spends its 6th year in the mortuary.
Niko na watoto wengine ambao tulizaa naye, watoto 2 ambao mpaka waleo hawapati haki yao. Na imekuwa ni jambo la kushangaza kwamba mtoto huyu angefaa azikwe tena ndipo iniondoke fikira zangu.
Caroline is now seeking the intervention of the court to have the remains of her daughter buried at her matrimonial homestead. Only then, she says, will she find peace of mind. Wilkiston Nyabwa, KTN.
Well, now let's talk about some children who go through difficult times to reach their classrooms. But even when they do get to class, the situation does not get much better. Well, in spite of all this, they still wake up every day and begin the long walk to seek an education. Mercy Kandie tells us the story of the early childhood education challenges facing the children of Kshs in Uasin Gishu County.
The path of education, they say, is tough, rough, and challenging. Well, for these young ones, going to school every morning, challenging parts are literally what they go through. And for 6 years, teacher Emily Matui helps her students cross the makeshift bridge, waiting for them every day at 7 in the morning.
Nimewangoja kulingana na weather, wamekaa sana kwa muda, nimekaa hapa. Ninaona hata muda ya kwenda kufunza shuleni itakuwa fupi kwa vile saa imeenda.
One child at a time has always been the routine every morning and lunchtime. Others crawl because when it rains, the bridge is slippery.
Kuna wakati mtoto mmoja alikimbia mbele kama bado ninawaleta wengine. Akakimbia kufika hapa akaanguka kwa mtu. Bahati mzuri kuna msasi mwenye alikuwa akilisha ng'ombe hapa akaweza kumuokoa. Na ikinyesha hata watoto wanakaanga nyumbani wakisubiri hata wiki mbili ama karibu mwezi moja, wanakaa nyumbani mpaka maji iweze kuteremka chini ili waweze kufuga.
Some walk as far as 3 kilometers to the St. Mary's Early Childhood Education ECD in Kshs area of Uasin Gishu County. The cold, drizzling morning is the least of their worries. As long as they cross over, struggle with the mud, the goal is to reach class.
Viongozi lazima waende wasuru kila shule waangalie changamoto zenye mashule zetu ama institutions zetu wanapitia. Watoto wetu wenye wako mashinani huku lazima wafanye mtihani moja na wale wanafunzi wenye wako kule townships wanapitia, yani they don't go through hardships mingi.
The stones here act as chairs. Everyone has to improvise on where they write on. ECD is vital to ensure a strong education foundation. The one-roomed class is divided into two, baby class and top class. The two teachers attend to the 65.
Wapunge wetu counselors ili waweze kutusaidia, watusaidie tutoke katika hii changa na ili masomo iweze kuendelea mbele.
The two qualified teachers here are not employed by government. On Friday, however, they are getting desks donated by their area member of parliament. For now, the quest for education amidst everything continues. It's not only the combined effort of the society to ensure that their young ones get education, but it is also the resilience and effort of these very young ones on a daily basis to face these challenges and uncomfortableness to look forward into a future of comfort. Mercy Kandie, KTN at ECD St. Mary's Kshs, Moiben, Uasin Gishu County.
Welcome back. You're watching KTN Prime.
Right now, medics at the Marigat Sub-District Hospital are puzzled by the sudden influx of female patients that has seen the female wards packed far beyond capacity. As KTN's Kamche Menza reports from Baringo County, it all began suddenly about 10 days ago. Take a look.
This is the current situation that female inpatients in this hospital are going through, sharing of beds. The female adults and their young ones also share the beds. An influx, medics say, erupted about 10 days ago, though there isn't any influx at the male wards.
We've been having overload of patients, even the outpatient. It's really busy. The inpatient cases are increasing in number, and the conditions we are getting are there are normal conditions, and our major challenges is the number is going up, and the facilities, some of the facilities are not enough.
The outpatients have not been spared either, but the medics here say such an influx has come as a surprise to them. since there isn't any major outbreak of diseases in Marigat.
We have snake bites, septic wounds, pneumonias, PTBs, tuberculosis.
And now they are worried that the congestion might lead to spreading of infections inside the ward.
We are getting newly diagnosed PTB clients, and if we overcrowd them with the other patients, there is a chance of others being infected with the same.
The capacity that we have for our beds in the male ward, we have only 4 beds, probably serving only 4 patients, but sometimes we admit more than 4.
There's something which can be done. For example, of course, decongesting the wards. We need more supplies, the non-farms. We need more drugs because of these overwhelming numbers. We also need space.
Kamchemenza, KTN, Baringo.
Now, farmers in Kisumu's Muhoroni sugar belt are taking up rabbit keeping as the new source of livelihood with the dwindling fortunes of the sugar sector. The shift in focus comes as new markets for rabbit meat emerge within East Africa. Fredo Mulo brings us that story.
With Muhoroni's main sugar factory teetering on the verge of collapse, farmers in Muhoroni, Kisumu County have been seeking alternatives, and rabbit keeping has come up at just the right moment. Dozen Bucks Limited, a rabbit meat exporter, has been providing farmers with the preferred breeds for rearing, after which the fully grown animals are slaughtered, processed and exported.
We came and started empowering the farmers by giving them the good breeds, giving them technical support in terms of vet services and extension services, and we moved on to assure the farmers of the market. So right now we have 64 farmers. There hardly been 64 farmers who are contracted by us, and all these farmers are having the best breeds that we can get around, giving high quality meat.
Touted for years by food activists, these fluffy herbivores eat simple grasses instead of energy-intensive processed animal food. They grow quickly and thrive in clean, disease-free conditions. Most farmers who take up their rearing have been unable to keep up with demand.
It's a viable project, and I encourage farmers in this particular region to actually venture into it, because I'm seeing it has a future and it's going to expand. And now that we have an airport just next to us in Kisumu, we are hoping to export much of the production from rabbit.
Breeders who have turned to rabbit keeping also get other byproducts. Among these are fertilizer from excrement and urine, as well as rabbit fur from skin. Since it is still considered a boutique product, pre-processed rabbit meat tends to fetch high prices.
At the end of it all, you'll be able to sell the rabbits, especially the bucks, which are the male ones. You can sell them at a profit of around 2,500. So that is around 4 kgs of the buck.
With most farmers here being small holders stuck in the sugarcane growing infrastructure, the advent of rabbit keeping is transforming many lives.
Wakulima ambao wanaweza kuhitaji kuingilia mambo ya chungura ni moyo wajitahidi. Kama unataka kufanya kitu, inataka kana ujitolee na moyo wako wote. Pata pesa haraka, unaweza kumsomesha mtoto kwa njia ya rahisi. Hakuna siri yote unaweza pata, lakini inataka kana ujitolee na nguvu yako yote.
Fredo Mulo, KTN Prime, Kisumu County.
The 5th annual African International Business and Management Conference kicked off today in Nairobi. The 2-day conference, organized by the University of Nairobi's School of Business, aims at providing a forum for interdisciplinary interactions among academics, researchers, policymakers, government, and business leaders on topical issues.
This year's conference, the 5th since its inception in 2010, brought together major stakeholders in the business sector with representation from the Ministry of Devolution and the Nairobi County Government. The theme is business ethics and corporate social responsibility, the way forward for emerging economies.
Again and again,
within the corporate world, within the government sectors, we are hearing about ethical issues, companies being engaged in corruption or probably in the government. And we thought as a world-class university, and for that matter as a world-class school, it is important to engage the public, to engage the academia, to engage the corporate world, and even our students to this issue.
The School of Business at the University of Nairobi has been instrumental in driving such fora that create the opportunity for the sharing of knowledge and ideas by academia, business leaders, and government officials.
Become more international and to remain the leading business school in the region, we started this IBUMA conference. It also made us move closer to the business community, the public sector. New mothers.
The interactive sessions showcase the state of practice and theory relating to business ethics and CSR. The conference continues on Friday.
Readers in every single institution.
Sharma Manyi, KTN.
Welcome back, watching KTN Sports. One of the Commonwealth, let's go to the Commonwealth Games now, and one of Kenya's 13 swimmers, Hamdan Bayusuf, is busy shaping up in Mombasa. The Kenyan boys team will be headlined by Jason Dunford, who is among the top-rated African swimmers. Others in the team are based Kimani Maina, Nairobi-based Micah Fernandez, and Mombasa-based Tori Pragasa and Isa Abdallah.
My expectations is to enter any final. I'll be happy to enter any final. Preparation, we're all preparing very well. We're all training very hard. As you can see, some of us are getting scholarships to go train in England, and we're working very hard. So we'll try our best not to let Kenya down. I'll be swimming the backstroke events, 50, 100, and 200 backstroke, and also 50, 100 freestyle. And inshallah also swim the relays.
It was a very difficult game to predict, that one. And speaking of predictions, after Argentina qualified against the hopes of many, predictions are divided as to which team between Germany and Argentina will hoist the World Cup trophy on Sunday night. A cross-section of Kenyan soccer fans tipped Germany to win the World Cup.
Brazil haikatolewa. Sasa mimi najua German itashinda Argentina na kwa mabao mawili, sababu najua Argentina pia haiko mchezo pia ni kari. Kwa hivyo najua itashinda, kama ni mingi ni mawili.
Kulingana na jinsi venyeona mechi inaendelea, timu ya Argentina tunaona kama inaenda kunyakua hii kikombe.
Germany wamezoea hii kitu bana. Sasa yani kila unajua wale sana ndio wanakuwa Argentina wanakuwa ni kama underdogs. Sasa mimi hao ndio na support.
Kitu moja lazima ujue, utuwezi sema ati Germany lazima washinde expressly, because Germany pia walicheza game poa wakicheza na Brazil, na of course walifanya kitu wenye watu wengi walikuwa shocked.
Obviously matashukua Germany. Yeah. Germany ndio huko, na mimi naona mudi yao ni kali.
Nilikuwa na expect Netherlands ifunge Argentina, lakini haikuwa vile. So naweza sema I was demoralized. I've got no team now.
I'm not getting into that one. Let's move on. The 2014 edition of the Elgon Cup pitting Kenya against Uganda takes place this Saturday at the Chadondo Rugby Club in Kampala, Uganda. The return leg is scheduled for Saturday, 19th of July. Kenya will be represented by 3 teams in the various categories. Kenya A will play Uganda's Rugby Cranes in the day's top bill clash on Saturday at the Chanyondo Rugby Club in a match that will be preceded preceded by the Women's Elgon Cup pitting Uganda's Lady Cranes against Kenya's Lionesses. The day's proceedings will be bullied off the newly introduced under-19 category, where Uganda plays their Kenyan counterparts. Last year, Kenya managed to pull off a surprise win against arch-rivals Uganda in Kampala. It's called the Chadondo.
That's
Stadium.
right, Chadondo.
All right, apparently I said my own things. Let's remind you of our big question tonight before we wrap up this bulletin. We did ask you whether you think the government really has any control over the alcohol that is sold in the country.
That's right, and let's take a look at poll result. 96% say no, only 4% say yes. I have one of those very few yeses in an SMS here from Daudi in Bungoma, and he says, yes, it is actually weird to say no. I know which alcohol I drink, and the bad consumer habits are the people's own fault. They shouldn't take what they do not know. That cannot be blamed on the government.
Well, there's one here from Pure Silva who says, no, on the contrary, the police keep on collecting bribes from the illicit brew makers.
Gideon Koros in Kericho says, no, Nakada has lost relevance and needs to be scrapped. We must provide Kenyans who want to drink with clean and affordable alcohol and let a clean police and judiciary handle illicit brews.
Paul Mwani here says, a big no. Mutudha should resign and reshuffle all members of Nakada for government to be able to control the alcohol.
Thank you very much for your feedback this evening and for joining us for this edition of KTN Prime. Our sign language interpreter this evening was William Silla, and I'm Nancy Kachingira.
My name is Wilson Buru. Enjoy the rest of your viewing. Good night.
Good night.